We're excited about hosting again this Saturday against South Dakota State, and we'll start our preparations with the guys this afternoon for that game. Going back to Saturday, we really were pleased with the way the guys responded and played after having a week off and not knowing who we were going to play until really we got into our game prep week. So we ran the ball extremely well, did some really good things, held them under 300 yards of offense. We were able to get some young guys in playing in the fourth quarter, which is always a great thing. You don't get a chance to do that very often, and so it was really good for us to get some young guys some playing reps, and looking forward to a really good battle this Saturday. So I'll open up for questions.
Coach, when you look back at the South Dakota State game, can you pinpoint one or two things that you wish you really could have done better in that game?
Well, I think stay on the field in the fourth quarter offensively, and then be able to get off the field. I mean, that's going to be really the tell of this week, I believe, as well. We have to be able to stay on the field offensively, and we have to get off the field on defense, and it's probably as simple as that.
You've played games now multiple years in a row, facing an opponent you already saw in the regular season. How different are these games the second time around, or are they pretty similar?
I think they're quite a bit different. You know, you can go back and go through the film of the previous game, either side of the ball, both teams, and you're going to see maybe some similarities because it's who you are, but in the same respect, there's a lot of different adjustments and wrinkles that both teams put in. So, you can take from that the personnel side of things of who you're playing against, but you have to be able to adjust in the playoffs no matter what.
After the San Diego game, some of the players kind of said they're really looking forward to this one. They were happy that South Dakota State won. Kind of want maybe a little bit of revenge. You kind of sense that in the locker room?
I don't even believe in the revenge factor. They're excited about the opportunity to play, get a chance to play at home. South Dakota State's next game on the schedule, and that's the one we're getting ready for.
Don Davis really played well. He get more of a chance on?
Yeah, he did, and he's getting more comfortable. He was one of our players of the game, doing some really good things in the coverage game and breaking on some balls a little bit quicker than he had been earlier in the season. I think a lot of that's repetition. He timed up a blitz pretty well and hit the quarterback, and all those snaps. And now, even though he's a redshirt freshman, he's played enough snaps to to almost get to a whole season that he has to play like a veteran kid, and he did on Saturday.
How difficult is it to mesh kind of what you've always been doing and are comfortable with, and then trying to come up with something different to show South Dakota State?
Well, it's still got to be who you are as a football team, and so there's some variations of things that either we have done or haven't shown yet that you'd like to maybe throw at them as a new wrinkle, but you still have to be true to who you are, and that's what the guys are doing upstairs right now, is trying to find some similar looks and maybe do some different things, and I'm sure they're doing the same, and it's still going to come down to execution. Both teams do know each other pretty well, and it'll come down to who executes the best.
I'm not sure how to ask this, but the fact you know them so well, is that less prep, or is it, do you still throw in 12 hours a day? Do you do things different because you know them so well?
Well, you just want to keep going through. There's so much film now, Jeff. You've got 12 games to go through, and you go back and look at your previous games you've played, and there's probably more prep in reality, but it's not like you're figuring out where their best skill guys are, or where their best offensive linemen are, or where their best defensive linemen are, or where their pieces are on defense. I mean, all those things, for both sides, I think are pretty evident. But you try to go through as much film as you can and try to see where you can maybe find an advantage.
Did you guys come out of Saturday pretty okay health-wise?
Yeah, we came out fine on Saturday.
You spoke about this yesterday during your coach's show with Jeremy about how South Dakota State has changed since you saw them, where they've grown, developed, gotten stronger. What's kind of the biggest standout to you? How are they different than the team you saw?
Well, I think they're playing better on defense, and they're playing with a lot more confidence. And they had a lot of new starters, I believe, on defense, or at least some inexperienced guys that are gaining a lot of experience. And I think they're, there's no question they're doing some better things on defense. Offensively, they're running the ball exceptionally well. I mean, part of that is the great weapons they have outside that, a lot of people have to make decisions. South Dakota was a great example that they were going to make sure and double team the tight end and the wide receiver, and then had a tough time defending the run. And that's the quandary that they put you in, and something that we have to do a good job of mixing things up.
What are your thoughts on an 11 o'clock kickoff?
I'm great with it. I think the players rather have it a little bit later, but as a coach, I don't mind it. Let's get up and get going. We played the 11 o'clock game at Iowa, so it's not something that we haven't done before this year. We've played in this time slot at least the last couple of years, so I'm glad it's Saturday and not Friday.
The way that Christian played against you guys last time, how important is it to have MJ Stump playing at the level he's playing at going into this matchup?
Well, it's important for all of our guys to play at a high level because Christian's a really good player. He can beat you with his legs, he can beat you with his arm, and he's having a tremendous football season. Obviously, he was the player of the year in the league, well deserved, and we have to do a really good job of corralling him and trying to get some pressure on him.
What was Villanova able to do to keep them to 10 points? Well, what did they do well defensively?
Well, Villanova runs a scheme that's unlike a lot of people's in our league. That's one thing that I'd take from it. They have a really good defense statistically. They have some excellent players. No question the weather played a big factor in it. As snowy as it was, and it looked like there was some wind, and obviously it was pretty cold. All those things usually give a big advantage to the defense, and they did a great job taking advantage of those things, and Villanova had a good game plan.
Do you like what you saw, obviously, out of Bruce, that you feel like he's 100% ready for you on Saturday?
Yeah, I wasn't sure until I saw some of those things, but the way he played on special teams, there was a few runs. Obviously, the long run is one that people would look at, but there's one where he jumped over the top of a few guys, and he was running with that same fearless, attitude and mentality that he was running with early in the season. And so it's great for our offense to have a healthy Bruce Anderson.
You know anything more about Pierre?
No, we'll find out this week, and it'll probably be a game time decision for Pierre.
You said you don't believe in the revenge factor. Do you warn your guys against getting too much into that, or do you stay out of that conversation?
Just stay out of it. It's a new game. It's a new week. We're trying to go 1-0 today and try to prepare ourselves. We can't worry about all that stuff that's out of our control. Control what you can control, and that's having great preparation today, learning some of the new things that we're doing, learning a little bit more about their schemes offensively and defensively, and kind of build up to Saturday. And our guys are going to be ready to play. Their guys are going to be ready to play. It still comes down to execution.
What have you seen teams do in the second half of the year on Goddard? That obviously, I know they're running the ball better, but what are teams doing to shut down him over the last 6 weeks?
Well, I think it's the fact that they're running the ball so successfully, they don't need to throw it as much. And if people are going to play a too high look against them and double team guys, then that's what you should do. And they have the ability to do that because they have the quarterback run as well as the tailback run. And I don't think it's that he's playing at any different level. I don't think Weineke's playing at any different level. I just think that they're more comfortable in saying we're going to take what you give us, and if you're going to let us just run the football at you, we're going to run the football and control the clock. And that's something that we have to do a good job of possessing the football this week and trying to keep those guys on the sideline. Now that's difficult because they have a really good defense that understands what we're doing offensively. So that's the kind of cat and mouse game that we have to play. That for us, we have to be able to win on third down better than we did in middle of October. And we had some really good drives offensively in that game. Not enough of them because we weren't getting off the field on defense. And then we had a couple of drops, and we had a big turnover that really, gave them some momentum back. And those little things are going to become big things come Saturday.
You have two healthy fullbacks, which you didn't have for the first game. How big a deal is that?
Yeah, it was interesting. We were watching the tape and seeing Caleb Butler out there in mid-October after, basically a half a practice. And, we're excited the fact that we have all of our arsenal in the backfield back there, whether it's the fullbacks and tailbacks. And I think that, it makes Caleb a better defensive player, and Caleb played well against SDSU in mid-December. And, I think Brock's healthy now. Brock Robbins is, and playing really well, and so it allows us to do more things.
How important are the scout team kids and what they bring when you have so much film on an opponent like this and you've seen so much of what they do?
Yeah, our scout team guys have been great all year, and we talked about it in the locker room with a lot of those guys after the big win over San Diego of how great they did of prepping us for San Diego on what was essentially a short week, working on them during that Monday through Thursday, and they'll do the same thing. A lot of them, they'll watch some film on South Dakota State, and they're familiar with them, and they have to give us a great look, so that we can prepare ourselves for a lot of different offense and a lot of different potential defense.
I always feel like I know you mentioned earlier, they always do something different. A couple years ago with Zenner and the Wildcat. Is there any way to prepare for something completely that you haven't seen before?
No, not necessarily. I mean, you can keep looking at film and stuff and say, what did they do to us in 11, 12, 13? Because there's so many staff members that are probably similar. But it's just your ability to adjust to what you see on the sideline. And, I think both teams have seen so much offense and so much defense this year that you have to kind of go back to, whatever they do to us, how did we attack it against opponent X in week 4 or whatever it may be. And, we know that they're going to come out in different things. I think they know that we're going to come out and do some different things. And so how well are you able to adjust? Do you have, and that's where the time of possession becomes such a huge factor, do you have time to adjust? It's different if you're going 3 and out and trying to dial up whatever they're doing, boy, you have a hard time doing that. You have to be able to possess the football so you can make those adjustments. And on the flip side, if you can get off the field, then maybe they don't have the time to adjust. So, and that's the great chess match of playing in a rematch.
Remember what was harder to adjust? The Zenner Wildcat, the Christian QB runs, because he hadn't run the ball till
they did a nice job, and they've run him a bunch really since that game. They're both really difficult to defend in how they were doing things. With Zenner back a few years ago, and then with Christian right now, they're both really both schemes were difficult to defend, especially since we hadn't seen them or worked on them.
You sometimes have to resist overthinking some things when you get into these repeat matchups?
No, that's what coaches do. They overthink everything. You can say what you want, but if not, we'd all go home and say, well, let's just do what we do and do what they do. But that's what coaches do. They just overthink the heck out of everything and keep deciding what's different. And the big thing is today is a critical day, and tomorrow to say whatever we feel is best, let's take our time, make sure that we have the right thoughts, and go practice them rather than changing our mind on Wednesday. We have to let the players play. It's a players game come Saturday, so do all the thinking over these first few days, get it all on paper, let them go practice it, and then be able to adjust.
In the chess match, and I'm not using the word revenge here, the chess match of it all. Are your coaches excited to have another crack at this chess match? I know Tim Polisek is a competitive man. Is he excited to have another crack at this chess match?
You'll get a chance to visit with him probably on Tuesday. I'm not going to speak for Tim other than on his golf game.
Light in his eye?
No, they're just going. They're going to work as normal. I mean, it's the next game. Let's go to work.
Did you adjust well enough last time against these guys? Was that you only lost by a couple points late in the game, but did you make enough adjustments?
Well, I don't think on our offense we had enough possessions to make that many of adjustments. I thought they did a good job a couple of times in the fourth quarter of shutting us down. But the first half we did what we wanted to do. We didn't do a good enough job on defense adjusting until we got to the red zone. And then we were able to, keep them out of the end zone and had a couple of turnovers, and they never kicked a field goal. So we had some, turnovers on downs, and you can't count on that, But 19-17, I think, was the final, and we still felt from the time of possession, defensively, we didn't do a good enough job getting off the field.
You mentioned you're going to have to go back and look at the tape. How did Chris Board do filling in?
He did a really good job. You know, he and Dom probably split snaps, and we didn't have a ton of snaps. So, you know, it was good to see Chris out there. Played really physical, knew what he was doing, was assignment sound, and I think, you know, we'll find out about Pierre, but Chris will take a good chunk of the reps as well as Pierre, if Pierre can, in practice.
The other playoff games last weekend, anything surprise you, some of the scores, Youngstown winning the way they did?
It didn't surprise me that Youngstown won the way they did. I think Youngstown's an exceptional football team, and obviously when Bo told you guys he was going to change the offense, he changed the offense, and they're lighting the scoreboard up, and I know how good their defense is, and Hunter Wells is a good quarterback, and they have explosive players. That's the only one I really, you know, kind of followed. So I was pleased for Coach Pelini. Obviously, the South Dakota State game, we just heard the score and stuff, but I was pleased with our league getting 3 of the final 8.
Do you think this game could swing on special teams like the Northern Iowa game last year in this round?
Boy, it sure could. And, you know, special teams, you can't just survive special teams. You have to be able to win the special teams phase. And it wasn't a factor this past Saturday because of the score, but we need to continue to emphasize it, and we'll put a lot of energy on it and emphasis today in meetings and out on the practice field, because we have to be able to flip a field, whether it's on coverage or whether it's with a big return, and that's where we're excited about Bruce being back. That you know, if we block it up and give him a crease, I think he can do something really special. So our special teams has to be really good.